Olá, galera. Tô aqui no Citibank Hall, no Rio de Janeiro. Tive o prazer de vir aqui aprender e passar o conhecimento para vocês. Tô aqui com o Ken Park, para mim, uma das pessoas que conhecem mais de plugin e não tem receio de ensinar. Isso é que é bacana e recebeu a gente aqui com o maior prazer. E eu tenho certeza que vocês também vão gostar disso aqui.
For me, it's important, you know, I started as a recording engineer and as an assistant engineer for some very famous engineers. And that is how I learned mic placement and basic tools. And those things have stuck with me, and I feel necessary to share those. You know, they've passed it on to me, and I feel like I need to pass it on to other people. So thank you for letting me do that.
Why did you choose Venue console?
Well, initially I chose it simply because it was the only console that did plugins. And then on top of that, I switched to this console when I first started working for Linkin Park. And they were very knowledgeable about Pro Tools and knowledgeable about plugins. And so it all kind of worked because it was like they could come and discuss. We could look at a plugin, we could see what was going on. And on top of that, it's the things that this console does is just pretty amazing. So in discussing about vocals, let's just look at starting with my vocal chain here.
Yeah. The first plugin.
This is the first plugin. Yeah. Max volume.
Yeah.
And with my singers, I have two different styles of singing. Chester is very aggressive singing and then very light singing. And so I needed a type of plugin that would do expansion and compression and limiting to keep him in check. Prior to this plugin with max volume, I was doing some probably 10 dB fader all night long.
Okay.
Now I feel like I can leave it there and do some little tweaks to try to get it to where it is. So max volume is why, that's part of the reason I use it.
Okay.
Here's a real trick with max volume that I love.
Yeah.
It's a gate feature. And now, a gate on vocal. Now that's a little crazy. People would be like, I don't know, why would I put a gate on a vocal? What's really interesting about this gate in particular, it's only one slider. There's no adjustment as far as threshold or any of that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But it's very tailored for vocal information. What this does is allow me to kind of cut out all the stage volume and all the other stuff that's going on the stage and still allow his vocal to pop through this. If your vocal is the loudest thing in your mix, which is generally everybody's goal in life, right? It cleans up all that stuff and allows you to bring other things up that you wouldn't be able to before.
Great.
So it's a really cool feature. You should check that out.
Okay.
It's the first plugin.
Yeah.
Compression, expansion, limiting.
Yeah.
Got a little gate on there. Next step. The C6.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is, it's probably looking pretty similar to what my preset is. C6 is incredible. It's frequency dependent compression. The way, a really good start is with a preset.
Yeah.
But the way that I really start with this plugin is with the thresholds out.
Yeah.
And use it as global EQ first. So there's no compression happening. And what's great about the plugin, you can solo up the different parts of this.
Okay.
You can solo and listen to what's hot in the particular vocal and kind of make volume adjustments to tailor EQ-wise first. Then once you have a good sound, then you can bring threshold of compression in, and then it starts to really actively work. Mike's C6 is going to look very different than Chester's C6. You know what I mean? There's some different dips and frequencies, and if you look at how much threshold there is happening and stuff, Chester's is much different in different parts of his vocal. So same idea, same process between the two different vocals, just different, finding little niches of where the frequency is.
Okay.
It's an intimidating plugin. Do you know this word? It's like you see it and you're like, oh no, there's so many knobs and stuff, and but if you really dig into it, it is an incredible tool, and learn about what it does. It does some amazing stuff. And my final thing, is is a new Waves product called NLS. And what it is console modeling.
Yeah.
And they have modeled an SSL console, a Neve console, and an MCI console. And what they discovered was that what makes those analog consoles sound so good is that each channel has a little bit difference between them. Even with the EQ out, just sitting there, each of those channels in an analog console have just a little bit of different sound. What they did was modeled 45 channels of each console, each of the three kinds of consoles. So when you bring up a channel strip, it gives you a random choice of one of the 45.
Oh.
Okay? It gives an analog warmth that is really
But it's
cool.
easy to use?
It is very easy. Yeah. Those are my three vocal things, right? You got max volume, going to a C6, going to busing, analog busing. Okay.
You use parallel compression?
I do. Let's look at my output bus. Okay. So we have that returning from my guitars and also my vocals into my output bus.
Yeah.
Okay. That's how those are getting there. But the general output side of this is an L2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But I actually use an analog unit. It's the only real analog unit that I have.
Mm-hmm.
Made by Neve, Rupert Neve. It's a thing called Portico 2.
Yeah.
And so there's some parallel compression between that and here.
I saw you in phase. In phase. You use in phase?
I do. Okay. In phase. So, as an engineer, we think of phase being bad. Phase is not necessarily bad.
Yeah.
Phase is an important part of making things sound right. I use phase a lot to kind of smear guitars, rather than making them very defined at 10 o'clock, I use it to make it be a 12 o'clock to 8 o'clock kind of smear of guitars, and I'll use maybe a speaker DI and a microphone and pan them differently so that you get kind of this phasey sound. Always when you're starting with something and you're listening to something, look at it first, I've seen guys just bring up faders and they don't even pay attention, you know what I mean? They just bring it up and the meter is pegged red and the, EQ is in the wrong place and all that kind of stuff. You look before you do things, make sure that everything looks like it should, then bring it up slowly, have a listen to it, and decide if it's going to think. I've watched a lot of people fail that way.
Thank you very much
Absolutely.
for this opportunity to interview you.
Oh, thanks for coming down, and I hope you stay and enjoy the show and all that stuff.